I'm here today to talk about 10 light bulb moments. He's thrown me now. I sometimes joke that I don't think I've had an original thought for about 10, 15 years, which is only half a joke. If I have any primary skills, it's two of them. The first one is that I steal mercilessly ideas without ego. I don't care where they come from, I nick them. And the second is I learn. If you can combine those two things, you're probably going to do okay. There's very little original in the world. These 10 light bulb moments, when I first came up with them, my long list was like 38, and I had to whittle them down. I'm a bugger for packing too much in. I've had some feedback from my session yesterday. It was great. I can't remember any of it. So I've got to stay disciplined. If I do this right, we're 20 minutes. So these are the 10 in no particular order, except the last 5 I think are of more importance to me. They've been the 10 most impactful things for me in my career, working with Japanese manufacturers. So my wife calls this the here, there, and everywhere slide. She rolls her eyes, and those are her eyes rolling, because she says, yeah, you're going to put that slide up that says you've been here, there, and everywhere, and you've done this, that, and the other. That's a selection of the things I've done. I've enjoyed everything I've done. I've made at least as many mistakes as things I've succeeded on. But like I say, I've learned. I'm 54 now, and for the last 2-3 years, I've been trying to strip away my ego. It's a work in progress. I still have it, but I'm trying to get rid of my ego. And to do that, I'm opening the kimono, and I am talking on podcasts about these are the things I've cocked up. It's great as well, if you do that, you get clarity on where you made mistakes and where not to make them again. That's one podcast I did it on. That's another one. I just keep trying to do that all the time because I think that path leads to becoming a better manufacturing person. The Japanese journey for me started here. That is Toshiyuki Muraoka. He's my sensei to this day. I met him in 1999. In that photo, I was 29. I look about 12. I was absolutely cacking myself. I've been with him for 2 weeks. His job was to train me, and we're standing there in Edinburgh. I wasn't sleeping at that point. It was awful. So nervous. That's Guangdong in 2017. I was sleeping at that point. He's got older. I like to think I've got that Benjamin Button thing going on, but my wife, again, tells me I haven't. And every 3-4 years in between those points, having spent 2 solid years with him working in manufacturers, in between those points, I'd go and work with him every 3-4 years to get a top-up. Now, his background was he joined Toyota at the Kamigo plant in 1964. He started off as a machinist. That was the plant that Taiichi Ohno did a lot of his experimentation in, particularly around pull systems, Kanban, and he had his savage sidekick, Suzumura-san. So he learned as that was being done, and he passed some of that on to me. That's him in Guangdong, squatting down by pallet trucks. Still, he's baffling me. I couldn't work out. It took me 2 days to work out why he was squatting down. And he was trying to link quality sensitivity from the bottom of the business all the way to the top, and pallet trucks was his chosen method. That's him now. He's getting older, but he's a force of nature. I reckon he'll outlive me. And that is the main part of my Japanese experience working with him. I've also spent 15 years consulting to Denso, who are a part of the Toyota Group, where, ironically, and the irony is not lost on me, I take their Japanese approach, their Japanese material, and make it understandable for a Western overseas group company. That's me in Japan, 2006 onwards with the company group. That is Nakagawa-san. He gave me a light bulb moment on the back of a napkin. You never know where the massive learning is going to come. You just don't know. I've still got that napkin now. I talk about it on YouTube programs at points. That's me in a Denso factory. I'm not trying to look intelligent now. I'm closing my eyes to listen, to really take in what the fella's saying. But I've been in Japan quite a lot. However, this isn't just about Japanese lessons. This is about general lessons. I've also worked in Mexico a bit. I would rather spend my breaks with the team leaders out back playing this game, which isn't for the faint-hearted. They rig a couple of electrodes up to a car battery and start playing with it. And these sinewy Mexicans are grabbing them and they're shaking, smiling at me. And they put it on 1 or 2 or something, and I squealed and let go. Great learning there. Great learning also from my time in JCB. That is the ceremonial launch of a new line to make backhoe loaders in Pune, I think. So this is informed by all of that. Now, let's get on with this. I'm going to cover one thing today. My 10 lean light bulb moments. That's it. There's nothing else. Except I've got to be honest. So if you feel I'm holding something back, or if you think I'm talking, I can't swear here because I've got children. If you feel I'm talking nonsense, please call me out either here or after. One thing I will say is working with Japanese engineers, and I've spent a lot of time with Japanese engineers and manufacturing people, it's not all sunshine and smiles. This was actually when I was working for JCB, we did due diligence on a Kawasaki factory that we're going to buy in Kobe. It was absolute, I can't swear again, craphole. As a number of Japanese businesses are. The Japanese do not have this cracked. However, the best Japanese businesses, like our friends at Toyota, they are way ahead of everybody else. The ceiling is higher, I find. Also, I don't want to be all dewy-eyed about my Japanese experience. It can be very harsh. The teaching was harsh. He spent 8 months shouting "Bakairo" at me, which, Google that, it's not nice, even through an interpreter who tried to soften it. Until I turned around in a curry house in Bradford and told him, no, I'm not interested, it's your job to teach me. They can also be a bit guilty of presentism, they're there for hours, and I remember turning up on a rainy night on the island of Kyushu in Fukuoka, to a hopping, absolutely jumping bar and being turned away by a lady who said, "Sorry, shut." My crime was that I'm a gaijin. I'm tall and I'm white. However, those small things to one side, multiply the positive by 100, and that's the Japanese experience, which is what I want to tell you now. The rest of this is the good stuff. Including, they love a fish metaphor. Japanese master engineers love a fish metaphor, and I think it's because it links to Kaizen. Catch many small fish. Don't spend weeks, months, years hunting for a big fish, because you ain't going to find it. Accumulate small fish in your net. This is their 3S seisu cleaning fish metaphor. I wrote about it in my book, Adventure in Leanland. By the way, don't buy Adventure in Leanland. The first half's a bit dry. It's not very good. Second half, I get into my stride. If you do want to buy it, negotiate to cut it in half and buy only half of the book. The back half is my recommendation. I ask him, my sensei, for pictures of what he's doing, and he always sends me fish. They freaking love fish. If you take nothing else away, embrace a fish metaphor. It works for lots of stuff. Let's get into this. Part 1. These are the first 5 light bulb moments I want to talk about. They're all photos. There are no more words except titles from here on in, I think. So, first up, beating the curve. On the left there is Richie McCaw and Steve Hansen. They were the All Blacks' most winningest, it's not even a word, but people use it, team in rugby union. On the right-hand side is Alex Ferguson. I don't support United, but I support his approach. These have something in common. They mastered the sigmoid curve for a while. The sigmoid curve is a curve for elite teams and also for elite businesses, where you get people together, they're struggling for a bit, then they fly, and then they taper off, they plateau, that plateau thing we've been talking about. What these two did very well is that they broke something before the down part of the sigmoid curve hit. They broke their businesses. They didn't break the core, they disrupted the edges. And what I mean by that, to turn it into manufacturing, is what this company did. That is the best factory I've ever been to. Because they were top 5 out of 170 manufacturing businesses for their organization, $40 billion organization. But they weren't happy, they were relentless. They halved their batch sizes. Painful, not painful enough. Then they halved them again. Painful, not painful enough for them. They wanted to stay ahead. There's a word for this, dantotsu. And then they did something really, really foolishly brilliant. They decided, this is a technical point, Rather than just making one product in a batch size, they would try to make 2 products at the same time in the same batch size, and they embraced all the problems that brought along. My point is this. If you feel you're plateauing and you're doing okay, break something, not your people. Break something in the process. And you'll find a way, it'll spur you on to do something better. So that's the first thing I learned. Second thing, don't pick up your binoculars until you know what you're looking for. This was tremendous learning for me. So this area here, I tend to train a lot of team leaders, sales leaders, group leaders, and I train them in control and Kaizen. I'll come to that later. I find with team leaders and sales leaders, they're either newbies, so they're in that pit of despair, they're doing okay but they're complacent, or they are struggling, really struggling. The complacent ones are really interesting. They know about the wastes, they know the 8 wastes, they can practice them. So this fella, James his name was, I took him to this cell and I said to him, please tell me what waste you see here. And he reeled off, after 2 or 3 minutes of silence, he reeled off some strong wastes. Then I said, okay, I'm going to give you half an hour. What do you want to do about them? And he told me some pretty good countermeasures. And then I tricked him. And then I said, this is a rework area. Now tell me what you want to do to improve this area. He lost sight of the fact that it's all very well knowing the 8 wastes, but you have to ask, what is the purpose of the area I'm looking at? If it doesn't add value, why am I tinkering with it? I'm putting lipstick on a pig. So I have a small Japanese fella, Toshiyuki Muraoka, on my shoulder, saying the 2 words he said to me for the best part of a year and a half. What purpose? What purpose? What's the purpose of this bit? Why are you looking at it? Don't pick up your binoculars till you know what you're looking for. Number 8. This is from Yamada-san when I worked at Delphi. Capital dollars are scarce, thinking is free. Our job is to take the difficult problems and make them easy for the shop floor. Not because the shop floor can't handle them, but because they're busy enough. Let's just make it easy for them. This machine makes me chuckle every time. An engineer designed this 2 years ago in one of my clients. It's a nice little machine. There it is, got a conveyor. You feed the evaporator in there. It goes down a conveyor. Down that top conveyor. It comes down on a little hydraulic thing to the bottom conveyor and eventually gets spat out the other end. Look at it. It's got an electrical panel. It's got all sorts. It's got air, and it's got little fans in the bottom. That machine's sole purpose is to give evaporators long enough to cool down so that you don't have a problem. Now, question for you. Do you need a machine to give evaporators long enough to cool down so you don't have a problem? And the answer is no. The engineer was a catalog engineer, wanted to design a machine. If you have engineers, and some of you do, ask them to get familiar with 2 things. Number 1 is Jugad. Jugad is a Hindi word, J-U-G-A-A-D. This fella here, and I nicked this off Instagram, I think, he is sorting onions into sizes by box. And the way he's doing this is he's rolling them down these 2 poles until they drop into the box. I could live 1,000 years and I'd never be smart enough to come up with that. This is a candle extinguishing device. No moving parts. You put it where you want on the candle to burn for as long as you like, and then when the candle burns down, those 2 clasps, spring-loaded clasps, shut. How cheap is that? Genius. So engineering is about this. That there is my favorite visual control, visual management device anywhere ever in the world. A little bit of rag tied to a fan, I can see at a glance, is the fan working? That's what I like. Karakuri is the thinking. Jugad, Japanese word karakuri. Mechanical devices with no internal or external power device. If you want to, Google the Japanese tea doll. Number 7, if you're watching, watch FFS. These 2 are watching the line. They're not watching, they're talking. That half-good book I mentioned a while ago, I interviewed my sensei about 10 years after I worked with him, and I asked him this question: I hear you weren't a very nice man to people. And that was his answer. Engineers spoke too much as if that's how they earn money, like competing with each other, how much you could talk. But they'd achieved nothing because they were talking. At least the people on the line are making things. They'd be talking and looking, and half an hour afterwards I'd ask them, what did you learn? And they learned nothing because they were talking. If you're watching the line, watch the line. It's the least you can do in respect for the people who are adding value. Don't talk. You're not that smart, and neither am I. Number 6, surrender. Repetition is a power. Now, this one's about habits. This is a typical path. I believe lean is situational. I echo everything that Brian said, that Paul said, that I can't remember names, everybody else has said here. There is no set path. Machado said that. There is no set path. This, when I was training with my sensei, he kept me for 12 months doing 5S, standardized work, 7 wastes, data analysis, and visual management. And because I catch on quick, I said, can I not just move on to the sexy stuff like Kanban and Heijunka, which I wasn't ready for. And he said, no, I'm teaching you to stay on the path. This is through an interpreter. I'm teaching you to walk the path, because once you know how to walk the path, you can stray off the path. And you stray off the path, you can find your way back. So whatever your path is, repeat it until you're bored, and then stray off the path, because you can find your way back. It's about habits. I even put a 5S check sheet into my own garage. I still have it today, although my kids are now 25 and 23. It's been in there for 20 years. Now, the reason is, this penny didn't drop for a while. The reason is that we expect people on the shop to maintain their area and keep good 3S, 5S all the time. Have you ever tried doing that yourself, day after day, relentlessly, for years? It's so hard. It's so hard. You're expecting them to do something that you don't do most of the time. So please, try a 3S check sheet for yourself, or have some discipline you have to do daily. Then you'll be a bit softer on them when they can't quite do it every day, because it's raining in the factory. I'm going to skip that one. Pause. You're here in the Titanic building. I have a tenuous link to Titanic because I'm from Southampton. And also, my sister married a fella whose grandmother was the youngest survivor. So I feel appalled to this building. If you have the chance, do the tour for 3 reasons. Number 1, there's a little ride in it that takes you on a shipyard Gemba. Closest we're going to feel about getting on a Gemba. It's fabulous. Number 2, in the bottom, there's some dominoes where they investigate the root cause of what caused the Titanic to sink. It's fabulous in terms of causation. Really good. And the 3rd reason is, find this fella, Thomas Andrews, MD in charge of design. If you can read that, which you probably can't, it says, he was one of the MDs. He tirelessly toured the yard with a paint-smeared bowler hat, grease on his boots, and pockets of his blue jacket stuffed with plans. He won the respect of ship owners and riveters alike, because he was relentlessly touring the Gemba. Not as a spectator, he was helping. He was there to help. So even if, like me, you do still have an ego, if you want to be respected, get out on the Gemba. Part 2. Those are the last 5, and then I'll be out your hair. Another trick, a bit like the rework area trick that it's a well-intended trick. I'm trying to make a point when people need that point. I asked Sajila here to give me a 5S assessment of the area. And she started to give me an assessment. Yeah, I like this, I like that, I don't like that. I stopped her at the end and said, can you really give me an assessment of that area? Took her a while, but she came to the conclusion, no. And that's because if you're looking at an area where nobody's working, you're assessing a museum. 5M1E. Put your person in the middle, put your eyes where the person is, because they bring the material, the method, the machine, the tooling, the measuring equipment together. They are the glue that makes it all work. So that lesson for me was put your eyes where the person is and the rest will follow. Watch the person. Same with Jim here. Jim was doing some comedy things. That's a pipe in a coffee cup getting some oil on it so he could fit it. But for him, abnormal had become normal. And once you have put your eyes where the person is, look around. I mentioned this yesterday. The clues you need are everywhere. The clues about where to start, what problem should I tackle next, are everywhere in your business. I reckon I'm about 3 to 4% of the way to being able to pick up the clues that are available. I just don't think I'm smart enough. There's the obvious stuff, like if your management leave the meeting room like that, you've got a problem. That's where you start. If your supervisors leave their office like that and your management, you've got a problem. They're telling you to do 3S on the shop floor, and apart from buying a nasty microwave, they're also leaving parts unidentified, and they're carnage paperwork. This is a Kanban card on the shop floor, on the floor. Every Kanban card should be treated like a baby bird with a broken wing. And if we're not treating them like that, then we've got a problem. My recommendation, look at the floor, see what it's telling you. It's a good start. Same with this kind of snapped off tab. And my final point, I'll put this one in for you, Tom. Standardized work and Gemba docs. My final point, this was a company where apparently, according to the senior team, the people weren't interested in standardized work. Utter, can you think of a clean word I can use? Utter hooey. Utter hooey. You look at that wall there, there are at least 10 expressions of wanting to use standardized work. It's just that the management hadn't found a way to do it for them. Keep an eye on this, do that, put it at this angle. I like my tools hung up. The clues are there. Just use them and catch a breeze. Number 4, the question after, what do you see? I was walking around a factory in Edinburgh with my sensei, and he said to me, what do you see? So I reeled off some stuff. Bad 5S, I see the gangway blocked. What else do you see? Oh, blimey, I see this, I see that. What else do you see? Now I'm struggling. Maybe parts presentation issue. Maybe we could orient that. And he said to me, do you see nothing good? That's a number 1 lesson for me. Very powerful, because it taught me that we're paid and we're trained to filter for the gap. Look for the positive, look for the value. In this business, all I saw was carnage when I first went in. I looked deeper, and there was a man making jigs, beautiful little jigs that made the job easier. I wouldn't have looked hard if I hadn't have had that lesson. So please, don't just filter for the gap. Number 3, we want in our business time travelers. That's me in a craft beer bar. That is a bottle of tonic water leaning up against a cabinet. Abnormality and problem. Abnormality is that. Problem is you don't spot it. You open the cabinet, drops out, smashes, mess, safety, etc. This is a factory that makes radiators, same factory. That's a decoiling of an aluminium coil. There's a little mark on the edge of it. There's a defect. You've got 3 choices, and we want your people to be time travelers. Choice 1, no one spots the little mark on the side of the coil, so you make scrap parts. Then you're into problem solving. Not ideal. Number 2, somebody spots the abnormality when they're putting the coil in. You've got no scrap parts, but you've got a delayed coil change. Better than a problem. Number 3, the materials handler tells the setter the day before, because they've got a nice little interchange going, they've got a little network, no scrap parts, no delayed coil change. Train your people to become time travelers is my advice. This one, I'm going to ask a quick question. Does that say 12? 22? All right. What's the commonality between those 3 pictures? And I can't wait. We can see their backs. Who said that? Where are you? Well done. We can see their backs. Mayumi-san, he came up with something called COTE Pro, Process Professional, recognition of operators. The only time we tend to tap our operators on the shoulder is when there's a problem. And if they're on a 60-second cycle time, they're making 100,000 parts a year. How about tapping them on the shoulder before there's a problem and asking them to show their skill? So he turned them around, introduced Process Professional, did a standardized work confirmation on the cell so that standardized work can be followed, asked them to be able to recite their standardized work from memory, and then they had to be defect-free for 12 weeks. And then they got Process Professional accreditation, recognition. If you're looking at backs and you're only ever tapping them on the shoulder when it's a problem, please consider. And finally, best kept secret in lean. Lean queens like me chirp about 5S, standardized work, line balance, med. That ain't the stuff you need. The stuff you need first is control. That is a sandcastle. And if you try to make improvements without control, the waves will come in and wash it away. You get the tortured metaphor. Control for a team leader is 4 skills. Start of the shift, I give a good forward-looking team brief that tells my people what might trip them up today. Area patrol. During the shift, I walk around with eyes like an outhouse rat and I find problems early. I deal with the stuff I can, I escalate the stuff I can't, and I have some simple ways to avoid my people marching down HR to moan about me. That is a start point for team leaders for me. That's what I start with. And then finally, the aim is not to be lean. This was our 3-level thing that I put into the JCB Academy. No accident, the final one is self-reliance. I nicked this from our Toyota friends, in that self-reliance, the ability to be able to find your own gap without rose-colored spectacles, is the highest expression of lean skill, not being lean. If you can find your gap, you're doing well. So look in the mirror and form useful habits. Forget the bonus, but buy that book. If you want to learn about lean, don't buy any lean books, buy that book. That's it. Thank you.